Former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, reacting to the news of Trump's indictment, tweeting, quote, "The grand jury has acted upon the facts and the law. No one is above the law, and everyone has the right to a trial to prove innocence. Hopefully, the former president will peacefully respect the system which grants him that right." Clearly, Pelosi has forgotten some key principles when it comes to criminal law in this country as provided by the Constitution: innocent until proven guilty, and guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Not when it pertains to President Trump, though, right? It's always a different standard or a two-tier system. But joining us now for more on this, trial lawyer and co-host of Reasonable Doubt podcast with Adam Carolla, Mark Garagos, also here with us. Garagos is here, distinguished professor of Touro University, and Thane Rosenbaum. Welcome to the show.
I'll start off with you, Mr. Garagos. Clearly, you have some experience when it comes to some high-profile cases. What would happen if Trump said, you know what, I'm not coming? I know that's not the case. We know he's planning on coming. He's going to be arraigned, and then he's planning on going back to Mar-a-Lago. But we've heard from Governor DeSantis saying, listen, I'm not going to abide by an extradition. Because, again, this is a state case, correct, sir?
That's absolutely correct. And I'll tell you, I'm sure that Joe Tacopina and Susan have explored that with him, because one of the immediate reactions that I had was, look, and I've been saying it for a week, this is a state case. They don't have the ability to extradite him without a governor-to-governor warrant. I know many people are saying, well, that's just ministerial. Well, I'm not so sure that I would necessarily buy that. And one of the things that the receiving governor, which would be DeSantis, can do is to say he has a job to do when he gets that warrant, and that's to take a look at it, and he could reject it. And you know what? Given this situation, given the timing of the situation, and I'll disclose in full transparency, I'm no fan of the politics of Trump, but I think if I was defending him, I would be advising him to give that serious consideration.
So you would advise him, just to clarify, you would advise, say, Governor DeSantis to kind of get involved, look at this indictment, take a look at it, and if it doesn't, you know, meet to what he thinks is merit, that he can say, listen, I'm not abiding by this extradition, and Trump should not come to New York City.
Well, take a look. What DeSantis has already said is that he's not going to get involved. He feels like it's a political, basically, for lack of paraphrase it, he thinks it's a political stunt. If that is the case, and I know that generally all they try to do in a warrant or an extradition hearing is basically, do you admit you're the person and is the warrant valid? Here, he's obviously going to, identity is not an issue, but the validity of the warrant is an issue. And so I don't know why they, if they haven't discussed it, why they don't. And frankly, it looked to me at least like DeSantis anticipated to some degree by his statement that they were going to do that, or at least look at that.
Thane, I want to take this over to you. You know, what does Nancy Pelosi's response tell you about how the left views our system of justice?
Well, Michael, one of the things I think is important, and I probably shouldn't say this as a law professor, is that, you know, this really is a political trial, not a legal trial. And if I was Donald Trump and I'm advising him, I would say, show up. You know, this trial is a gift. The more prejudicial it looks for you, the better. It is a show trial. It's based on a very low-level offense. It's not a crime. You know, the fact that Nancy Pelosi is speaking of this as if this is already decided, determined criminal behavior, I'm not even sure it is a crime at its essence. In addition to, yes, there are pre-trial motions they could make to dismiss the case on venue or the lack of jurisdiction, because this is to try to elevate this to a federal offense. But I wouldn't do it. I would take the bait. Why give up an opportunity to not cross-examine Michael Cohen? And I'll tell you this, it's my view. I could be wrong, but I don't think if this thing is scheduled for trial, you won't see the Atlanta prosecution take place or the Washington, D.C. They will not pile on. The appearance of it already looks terrible enough. Donald Trump already looks like a martyr. They're not going to make him go from courtroom to courtroom to courtroom. It is only going to galvanize the supporters. Those other cases, frankly, he's slightly more vulnerable with. He's not vulnerable here. This is the porn star case. It's 6 years old. Nobody cares about it.
Thane.
You know, it seems to me the cases that he's vulnerable.
You're speaking logic. You're making too much
violence.
sense, Thane. That's the problem here.
There's one problem with that, though. He could not pick a worse place to be tried than in a Manhattan state court.
Absolutely. I'm sorry to cut you both off. You
that's-
guys are making such excellent points. Thank you so much, Mark Garagos and Thane Rosenbaum. They're telling me we have to go still ahead this hour. Who knew the last time a president faced the threat of a criminal trial was in 1872 when Ulysses S. Grant was actually arrested for speeding on his horse-drawn carriage in Washington. Presidential historian Craig Shirley weighs in next.